plasma, well, factor 8, factor 9, but it doesn't seem to be coming into the discussion about other drugs.
It's true. It's strange. Do you have an idea of why that might be, or does this feel completely arbitrary?
I think they have. I mean, from what I know, there are some studies on rats where baby rats are given PEG, but and you see changes in brain tissue on microscopy, but these are huge doses which they're given. And there are some data which I've seen presented which shows it accumulates up to a certain point, but then it doesn't go up any further. And that we don't have any evidence that it's actually causing a problem in anybody, in human patients. But, if it was causing a problem, why would it be registered for people over 6, but not for people under 6? It seems very strange.
Yeah.
I don't know what changes in my physiology at that age.
Is it 6 in Austria, or is it, because in Germany it's 12 years old?
Oh, maybe it's 12.
Wow.
An example is the pegylated factor 9 product from Novo Nordisk. That we had a baby in the trial, so a 1-year-old baby was in the trial. That product he's still having. And at the same time, the pegylated factor 8 from Novo Nordisk, from what I understand, it's already registered for small kids in Switzerland, I think also in the United States and Canada, but it's not registered in the rest of the EU. So that's difficult for parents to understand. Why would a product be registered in Switzerland for kids in the 2-year-old age group, but not in Germany?
Right.
And also in the United States. Yeah, it's
strange.
It's strange.
Okay, but generally you'd be open to it, considering, I mean, you have patients and other indications who are on pegylated brands that have not experienced any issues. So it would be, it's pegylated products in hemophilia would, if I understand correctly, not be something you shy away from just because of the PEG molecule.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, pegulation's been around for a long time.
Right. Do you have patients in that age group? If from 12 to, I assume, 18, then?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we haven't, all of those between 12 and 18 were on recombinant factor, non-pegylated, and we've actually not changed their factor to pegylated or extended half-life products, because they've all been told that that's possible, but the ones who've been getting prophylaxis for years and are not bleeding, they're quite happy with what they're using, and they are all very resistant to change.
Does it? That's something I wonder about this as well, because with the advent of gene therapy for, the really young children, I know there's developments now in having non-adults included in studies in that regard, or if especially with teenagers and like higher activity levels and potentially higher peak levels, or at least longer half-lives. Would that be, is that something that doesn't interest them at all, or?
I think there's a huge discrepancy. If you go to a big meeting about hemophilia, the companies are always bringing data showing that increasing your trough levels is a good idea. Well, you think, well, the companies can say that anyway because they're going to sell more products. But even teenagers, if they're very active, I mean, most of our patients, they go in Austria skiing in winter. Maybe all of them go skiing. and it seems that nearly all of them like to play football. If they're not bleeding, then and they're taking their prophylaxis regularly, and they usually do take care. If it's the day when they're going skiing, then they give their factor VIII on that day. Right. If they're not actively having any problems, then we're not trying to push up their trough levels.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And also, they are well informed of what's available. Extended half-life, emicizumab. They're all very, very well informed, the hemophilia patients. They're all in their own networks. They've all got their own WhatsApp groups. They've got their own patients group. If they come, we see them 3 times a year for a regular checkup. And if they say they're having problems, or they say they've read about this and they want to try it, then we'd go ahead and do it. But our impression so far is that if they're being using a particular factor prophylactically regularly and they've not got any problems, they're very, very resistant to change. They all seem to be very, very they're very. If they've got a product which they've known for years, they want to stay with it.
Right.
And small changes, even if the how the packet looks, or if the injection system is changed, that alone makes them a bit upset. They like it to stay how it always was.
Right. Because why change a winning team? Is that how you say it in English?
Yeah.
If you say that they're very resistant to change, then on average, how often does it occur that you switch a patient from one brand to another, apart from the patient with whom you have now switched to emicizumab a month ago? Were there any?
Well, it's not very often. We have had to change people's products because some products came to the end of production. So,
I see.
Cogenates, Helixates, they then brought out a new molecule and we tried. If the patients had no preference, we tried to just give them the next generation product from the same company.
Gotcha. Okay. With regards to emicizumab, again, I wanted to have your opinion on the use in pups, because that's something I see, or I hear about now more and more. Is that something you've discussed with your colleagues? Would that be an option to you, or what's your stance on that?
Well, the studies have been done on pups. They've been published. Roche has been very, very active in informing the hemophilia treating doctors that these studies have been done. I think the last 2 kids we newly diagnosed under the age of 1. When we talked about therapy, I make sure that I mention that this is a therapy option, because they're going to hear about it anyway. And I don't want patients to think we were hiding something from them, because they're in contact with the hemophilia patients group. We always give them literature to read. Patients speak with each other. So I think it's good to explain to them that it's a treatment option. But of course, we do tell them that prophylaxis has been used for 25 years. It's been put through trials with large numbers of patients who've been followed up for years and years and years and years. Yeah. So we know a lot about it. We know what it's good at. We know what it's bad at. And the studies, these Haven studies on emicizumab, I mean, the number of patients is not huge, and the length of follow-up is pretty short. Right, so if someone was to say, in 5 years' time, are we going to find that they build antibodies to emicizumab, neutralizing antibodies? Well, that might be the case. So I do tell patients is that this